everyone. Welcome to the Daddy Issues podcast. I'm Kay, and I'm here with S and G.
Hey, guys. Our goal each week is to unpack various aspects of our lives. We're three sisters with three very different perspectives, and we hope that through our conversations, DIY therapy sessions, and unpacking of our lives, that our viewers are able to live vicariously through us and learn a thing or two.
Yes, and just a reminder, we are completely amateur humans and far from perfect, so please take what we say lightly. We are definitely not claiming to be professionals. We're just trying to create a fun and safe space for us to grow.
Absolutely. So before we get into today's topic, I wanted
Both
to
grab our drinks.
Yes, priority number one.
Let's settle in.
I wanted to do a quick brain dump that is oddly related to the topic today, but so last week I was out with a few of my mom friends. We were at a play area for our kids, and there was another little kid there that was just following my son around everywhere. And just instant clicked. I mean, at one point they were on their tummies, looking into each other's eyes, being so cute. Okay, first of all, I'm going to sound like an actual crazy person, and I'm aware of this. But so anyways, I finally see who I presume to be the parent. And I noticed that the little boy is black and the mom is white, which, modern day, that doesn't mean anything. I'm like, maybe he was adopted. And so she strikes up a conversation with us, and she's like, oh, do you guys all kind of meet up together? Is this a mom group, a reading group, or what's going on here? And we're like, oh, we just kind of meet up every once in a while. We've all met through different things, mom-related things, and we just got chatting. And while we're doing that, also, not only is this little boy obsessed with my son, he's also, obsessed with me. He is coming up to me, pulling on my leg, wanting to give me hugs, just being so sweet. And at one point, he goes over to the woman and calls her mom, and she's like, oh, I'm not your mom, sweetie. And so we got to talking, and she was basically like, yeah, his mom is really young, and just kind of, I don't know how to explain it. She wasn't explicitly saying anything negative, but she was like, yeah, I kind of got roped into watching him after watching him once. Now I'm always watching him every day. And at one point, this is important to note, the little boy was being super sweet to me and my son, and the woman says, oh my gosh, I think he wants to go home with you.
I think that's a big swing.
I feel like that's really
say.
bold.
Yeah.
For me, I don't see any scenario where I would just be like, my son wants to go home with you. Ever. Granted, not her son, but even more,
even more so, yeah.
Yeah. And so, anywhoozer, I got it in my head that maybe this little kid needs a home, and I am very open about wanting to one day adopt. That is something I see for myself, and honestly, when I imagine it, I do think it will happen kind of in the wild. I've always adopted strays. Even my husband, I call him a stray that I adopted. It's always been my way. Our family growing up was always kind of hodgepodge, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Our friends are super involved in our family dynamic. We've always kind of collected people. Our aunt, multiple aunts have adopted children, naturally just out in the wild. So it's not completely foreign to me as a construct. But I was totally inventing a whole future in my head. I was texting my friend
fantasizing.
Yes, totally fantasizing about this idea. Dreamland. It's kind of a state I live in. But I'm not, the thing is sometimes I'll do that and then I'm not that far off base. So it's kind of hard to navigate that. But yeah, so anyways, I ended up finding the parent online, and he's got a very stable home situation.
Happy, loving family.
Yes, happy, loving family. It was totally built up in my head. But I just thought it was so funny that my brain was able to take these comments. And I'm sure that caretaker, or I don't know, babysitter, maybe was starting to feel some resentment or whatever, and had her own ideas of what the parenting status should be. But whatever. I don't know what I was reading, but I totally took this little thing and blew it so far out. But
the funny thing is, like you said, you are a lot of times right about things where I'm like, okay, gee, that's a little far out there. That's a little crazy. And then you end up being right. So I understand that you have these thoughts, ideas, fantasies, and that they can feel somewhat real or like reality because you have been right about things so many times. So even when you tell me these things, I buy into it. I'm like, oh yeah, you're adopting a child. I'm gonna have another nephew. Like, I'm so excited.
Yeah, and you know what? Like with teaching, I've had similar experiences where like kids were having trouble with housing or with custody agreements, and I was like, if I was in a different place, I would definitely.
It happens.
Yeah.
It really does happen. I remember listening to a podcast, and they were telling a story about how they got another sibling because their mom was in the checkout line at a grocery store.
Oh yeah,
and
I heard that
literally
one too.
the girl in front was basically telling the cash register, "I'm pregnant. I don't know what to do." And the woman behind was like, "You know what? I'll adopt your kid." And then boom, all of a sudden. It happens. Like, it really does happen like that sometimes. And
also, I feel like we have just seen a lot of crazy things play out in our life. And we've also seen, like you said, people in our family take in children or basically adopt children. So you also have seen that as a reality.
Yeah,
so it's so much easier to
Yeah.
create that story in your head.
But I feel a little silly now looking back. But, you know, it was nice to kind of imagine that. And I do think it was the first time I ever saw my son, I don't know, interact with another random person, honestly, another random kid like that, where it was just so instant connection. And it did kind of warm my heart a little bit. I think it made me realize that adoption is something I really
That's exactly what I was going to say. I feel like this scenario, like, no matter how it turns out, you can use it to, you know, and to kind of look back on in the future when you're maybe contemplating adoption or something like that, you know, as kind of that fuel that it is something that you want to do.
Absolutely. So. But anyways, this kind of relates to today's topic because today we are talking about our personality types. The three of us have taken a personality quiz.
Yeah, we took the Enneagram. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah. So it reveals your personality type and deepest fears.
Yeah.
So
it really kind of like, it's your deepest fears and motivators. And I feel like fears are the biggest motivators in life, honestly.
100%.
So I've actually taken this test in the past before, and I remember reading my results and almost feeling offended by them because they're so accurate and they are touching that sensitive spot of like your fears and insecurities. But I do really feel like that is the biggest source of fuel.
As much this time?
Not as much this time. Okay. I think when I took it when I was younger and
a
little less self-aware, I guess, I was super like, no.
Well, I feel like we're in the business of self-reflection here, right? So I think we're a bit more receptive.
Which I think is funny because I think Kay did mention that she doesn't agree with her. And you are probably the age that I was when I first took it and was very resistant to it. So
the funny thing is, when you took it that first time, so did I. My personality type has changed. And when I had taken it the first time, I wasn't like, no. Like, I was very accepting of the results. And now since it's changed.
Which is something very interesting, which I don't think we'll get into it in that much depth today. But in reading the overview of our personality types that we got after we took the test, it does show, like, basically type 6, which I am. At your worst, you're actually a type 3, but at your best, you're a type 9, so the wings. So you can kind of fall into different types based on where you are at currently. If you're, in a good spot versus you're leaning into a little bit more of your insecurities and fears and things like that. So it's interesting. It can change when you take it, depending on kind of where you're at in life. So
as you can see, we're going to be psychoanalyzing our results.
Of course.
So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's start, G, with your results and what you got from the personality test.
Yes. So my personality type was Enneagram type 4.
Okay.
The individualist.
I mean, just the title alone, I feel like, I'm like, yeah.
It's accurate.
So I'm going to read just like the overview of what my type is. Yeah. Okay. So 4s have delicate and complex personalities. Their identity is closely tied to their feelings. Since feelings are very prone to change, 4s often struggle to understand who they really are. Therefore, they focus on differences, as differences are a replacement for healthy boundaries between other people and them. Though they seem distant and detached, Enneagram 4 just needs space to discover who they are before they are ready to connect with others. They often feel they are inherently different from others, both in a positive and negative way. For example, they may believe they are a genius in one area while also believing they are ultimately flawed in another. When balanced, 4s are exceptionally creative and find a way to communicate that their needs are different through their creations and work. They explore their inner world, work through their emotions, and transform their experiences into something everyone can relate to. It is safe to say they are the archetype of an artist who touches the collective
Ding, ding, ding.
through deeply personal expression. For all these and many other reasons, 4s usually go through many transformations in life. They often see their lives as a quest for self-discovery. However, while on this quest, they are often more interested in their past than their future. As they mature, they learn to make space for new connections, experiences, and feelings instead of holding on to the past.
Okay. So when you first read that, were you like ding, ding, ding? Or
Yes.
were you resistant to it at all?
Yes, even the not so positive things.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly related to a lot of it. I think that so the parts that stood out immediately were the delicate and complex personality. I think I'm good at masking it a little bit, but I do think that my identity is closely tied to my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I can be really up or I can be really down. And there is a range. I think that my husband can attest to that most of all.
Mm-hmm. I think I agree with that,
Yeah,
too.
I think you can also. You're like, no, that one was obvious. I'm not sure why you're explaining yourself. And then feeling inherently different than others, I super relate to that. And yes, the whole positive and negative aspect, I do feel that, if I'm a natural at something, I feel like I can tie my identity to it right away. I put all of my energy.
Which I feel like you're a natural at a lot of things.
I am.
So you attach yourself to a lot of things.
A lot of things, and my personality shifts with each of those things, or my identity shifts with each of those things, whether it's pole dancing or it's school or it's being a mom. Like, I pour myself into those things, but if I feel different, it will like crush me inside. I feel like we talked a little bit about feeling different than you guys. I had a workplace, in my early 20s where I was kind of the outsider that still sticks with me to this day.
Well, in our family, sometimes like you reference yourself first as that, as the black sheep.
I have it tattooed on my body.
Yeah.
And I feel that in our immediate family. I feel that in our extended family. And when I was little, I saw it as this horrible thing. There are literal pictures of me standing off to the side awkwardly, like, and there's actually a trend on TikTok about that now. And I'm like, should I? Any user. But as an adult, I kind of rebranded it as the black sheep. My black sheep is actually my positive take on it because I've mentally decided, being a black sheep is important because it allows you to open the minds of your family, especially when it comes to like our extended family.
Yeah.
I feel like, people are more willing to accept their family members. It's not always a given. Some people lose their family over who they are. But a lot of times our families are more willing to accept you if you're related to them. So me being different and outspoken.
And having different opinions than the people in our family around us.
Yes, it kind of forces them to open their minds a bit more. And I see
because
that
they
as
love
a
you.
superpower. Yeah, because they love me. And you can't change it. And so this is what's happening, people. Get on board.
Yeah.
But yeah, and did you want me to go through like kind of all my things?
Yeah, I think, and then if you have any questions or disagree with anything you say, we'll chime in.
And then I definitely felt like school has tested me on like my feelings of if I'm not naturally good at something, kind of just bail. Mm-hmm. But I think the reason that I've been successful with school this go around is the overall success of the reaction I get from people when they're like, wow, how do you do it all?
Yeah, because you're a mom of a toddler and getting your degree in biomedical engineering.
So while I might struggle in a single class and 18-year-old me in college, that crushed me and I was done. Now, 30-year-old me, we're rounding down. 30-year-old me goes, okay, I might be struggling in this class right now, But overall, everyone looks at me like the badass who is tackling school and a mom and a wife and all these things. And so it drives me to keep pushing.
Yeah, and kind of like what you said at the beginning, how you, when you're good at something, you can attach your identity to it, and you are naturally good at a lot of things. You know, obviously every strength can be a weakness, every weakness can be a strength, but I feel like that's also a good thing because you can spread your identity, cast a wide net when it comes to your identity, and it's not all placed in one thing. So if maybe school's not going great, but you come home and you see that you have an amazing son and that you're doing a great job raising him, then that fuels you. So it's good to feel like you are attached to multiple identities. I think that inherently sounds bad, but I think it can be a good thing, so that when one thing maybe isn't going your way, because it does feel so heavy for you, you're able to look to other areas as well.
That's true. And it might be just a sign of maturing as well. Not just picking one thing and thinking, okay, this is who I am. Because I did do that with pole. And it was really hard for me to kind of overcome that, like moving on from that, because that was never sustainable in any capacity. I probably could have done it for longer, maybe, but it was not sustainable long term in any fashion. So, but yeah, so, and then the last thing about just kind of the personality type overview is when balanced, very creative and can create things that are very relatable to others, like as an artist.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I am my best self when I'm creating things. And I truly believe that is who I am, is when I'm making things, whether it's for fun or for work or for whatever. I love making art. And I think that what's funny is going to art school kind of took that from me for a little bit. And then whenever I just started making art and taking away the pressures, it was just like, oh, okay, well, this is just fun to do.
Yeah.
There's no right way to do art. That's the whole point.
That's why, I don't really know how art school works, because how can you grade art?
It's so crap. But I will say one thing it gave me is the ability to take constructive criticism, because they would literally line us up and just ream us. Yeah, one of my professors was like, everyone has to say a positive and a negative. Go.
Let's do at least a positive sandwich. What is it? It's like a positive, negative, positive at least.
Yeah. So you just get ripped apart.
Do you want to go through all of yours, or do you want us to jump to our
I think maybe we do overviews, and then we go to the next section.
Well, this will be easy because me and Kay actually got the same personality.
Yeah, I was honestly a little surprised. That
but going back to the fact that it can shift sometimes, so that's interesting. Yeah. Do you want me to go ahead and read it?
Yeah, it'd be great.
Okay, so we took the test, and we got the Enneagram Type 6, the Loyalist. So let's see here. Okay. So, Enneagram 6 typically grows up with a sense of insecurity and a lack of emotional support. Therefore, anxiety becomes their second nature. Since they never learned to rely on anyone other than themselves, 6s constantly worry about everything that could go wrong. Therefore, it is no wonder that they have a backup plan for any situation. They learn to cope with feelings of insecurity and fear of the future by developing an extreme level of responsibility, reliability, and control. They believe it is essential to be ready for any situation, which is why they do their best to predict every possible scenario in detail. While this makes them genius troubleshooters, it takes the spontaneity and joy from their lives. Yet it is just their fears that make them so efficient and organized. They also have excellent people skills, leadership qualities, and a capacity for deep empathy. Honest, warm, and caring, they are amazing friends who will stand by you through thick and thin. It is particularly interesting that these are two completely opposite ways in which Enneagram 6 manifest their fears. Some 6s let their fears and anxiety take over their lives, while others choose to ignore their fears and engage in risky endeavors just to prove their fearlessness. That is definitely not me. I would definitely be the other.
I think it was you when you were younger.
You think I was risky when I was
younger? You would always be like,
yes.
Dare me to do this. I dare you to dare me
even
to do
like
that.
Sometimes you joke that I've been unhinged even in teenage years. Sometimes some of the stories you tell me, I'm just like, what?
Like
cutting your finger open in a bathroom stall.
Well, that was a complete accident.
Yeah, but it was like as a result of like unhinged behavior.
I do agree with that. I feel like my college years were my time to kind of explore that a little bit.
A little cray-cray.
I do. I feel like the thing that I relate to the most in terms of what that overview said. Well, it kind of described the upbringing of those who typically become a type 6 when they feel that they have a level of a lack of emotional support, or that is not always a constant for them. I do feel like that was super big for me. Obviously, Dad is a big one. He was definitely not a reliable source of emotional comfort or anything like that, because he was just basically not around. Yeah. But I do feel like I also struggled with our mom, which I have a hard time talking about because she was an absolutely incredible mom and did everything she could.
I think she was a survival mom.
Yeah, there's only so much emotional stability you can provide for a child when you're literally just trying to survive. So I feel like growing up, I never felt that sense of like, this is the one person that I can go to that I can trust with not managing my emotions, but kind of, because as a child, I think you do kind of rely on other people to help you
100%
manage your emotions.
Yeah,
I think
and
as an
learn
adult
those
that can be
skills.
bad,
Yeah.
but I think as a child, it's somewhat of a reasonable expectation. And I think I talked about it in a previous episode where, especially when Mom got remarried, it felt like a little bit of a whiplash situation with our stepdad, specifically being a pilot. When he was away, I really felt that I had my mom. And then when he was gone, or when he was back and her attention shifted to him a little bit more, I felt like I didn't have that person anymore. I
just felt unstable.
Yes, that instability. And I think, unfortunately, then that kind of fell on you, G, as the older sister, to be that constant, that stability for me that I felt like I didn't have. And
I was a teenager and unstable myself. So.
Exactly. It was definitely not something that you should have had to shoulder at all. And I think you were that for me for so long. And then I think a topic to bring up, which could be a sensitive one, is this a little high school blowout that me and G had. We were that perfect age gap where I was a freshman in high school and G was a senior, so that's always fun.
And I was an insecure senior. Here's the thing. That goes to my personality type too, right? I always felt different. I knew that my little sister was cute as a button. The boys were going to love her, okay? And it was going to piss me off, and I knew that.
Yeah, basically going into high school, G was like, do not talk to any of the boys in my grade.
Just like, don't date them. Don't look at them. I've known them since literal kindergarten. I don't want boys knocking on the door asking for my little sister.
Yes. So then, basically did the opposite of what she requested. I did get caught up in a little bit of a situation with a senior. And my freshman year did end up losing my virginity to him, which was a whole thing that I tried my best to keep a secret. And specifically, I remember it happened. We went on a family trip to Cancun. And me and G had like a very, and you might have to fill in the details, but like a really big bonding moment when we were there.
Where I opened up about kind of where I was at sexually and my conflict.
Because your sexual life was also put on display for our whole family.
For the entire family.
Until mine took the spotlight.
Yeah. Maybe subconsciously I was like, you know what?
Let me get the spotlight off of me.
And maybe that's why I just like ran away from it.
You're like, I'll never do that.
No, thank you, not for me.
But yeah, I opened up with like who I had been with and like my experiences and how just feeling like once that can of worms is open, it's kind of just like you can't put them back in.
Yeah.
And I asked you, I was like, do you have anything to share?
And I said no.
And I get it. It was out of fear. I was scary, guys. I was
really scary.
I was a scary teenager.
I was so happy I was the youngest. I was still
like I was not
cute.
involved in that.
Yeah.
But I remember on that vacation where we had that conversation, I literally got a message on Facebook from one of my good guy friends. And he was basically like, did you have sex with so-and-so? And he's like, the whole school's talking about it. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I was so scared to go back.
So while we were still on vacation,
I literally got that message. I didn't know you didn't know that part.
Too, no.
So I was very scared to what I was going back for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and eventually you did find out.
Yeah, I did not know it was coming.
And
my most gossipy friend. My most gossip. It's like, it could have been anybody else. Honestly, it probably wouldn't have been as brutal of a thing. But she wanted to see me react.
Yeah. So yeah, the G found out and kind of exploited our sister relationship. Basically, she's just acted like I didn't exist. We literally shared a bedroom, and I sometimes had to question him, like, am I here? Am I a human? Am I alive?
Bad.
Like, she was very good.
Oh man,
pretending like
closing down in that era was like my strongest move, and I completely shut down, bro.
Yeah, and I think because you were that stable relationship for me, and I felt like I could, and I know I can rely on you for anything and everything, and that being stripped away so suddenly was just an emphasis on that instability of like someone being there for you that I think was a little bit
traumatizing. You can say it. It was traumatizing. I'm so sorry. And honestly, you could probably talk to like my best friends too. I was going through it that year, and I did it to them too. I was awful that year. I was awful. So I can sit here and say, "Oh, you didn't tell me," blah blah blah. No, that doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I was shit, man. I'm so sorry, and I know I've apologized.
No, and it's literally now where we're at in life. I'm like, okay, teenage us is literally just like we have to just forget that ever happened. But I do need to recognize that is part of
it left damage, and it's something that I always have to live with, knowing that I did that I left lasting damage on you like that. I just hope you know that it was really hard for me to not be like besties with you too.
Yeah,
like it was hard.
It seemed really easy for you, which was really hard for
also
me.
That's what I was about to say. Is I think an important thing to note is that when we did go back on, it was like a switch too.
Yeah, we were like, oh, thank God.
No, I literally, we were sitting in a circle. I was ignoring her up until that point.
In a group of people.
And then all of a sudden, I turned to her, acknowledged her, and it was just like, and I'm done. Yeah. I'm done.
It literally makes me want to cry, I think.
I'm sorry. But no, I just literally...
Like a happy tears that, like, our bond is so strong that it was like, there's no way that, like, we can continue down this path.
I love you forever.
I love you
and
too.
it was like my own hurt, and there was so much other hurt too.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with you really at the core of it. It was just like I was just mad. I was just mad at the world at the time. And I'm sorry that I took it out on you.
No, yeah. But yeah, all that to be said, that's like a big part that I related to, that like instability growing up that I think has led me to become this anxiously attached person, and someone who's craving stability. I think that's a big reason why like I pursued the career that I did, and like knew that I wanted to be in a place where I could provide that stability for myself, especially coming from like a financial perspective. I actually remember this. I'm gonna tell one more story and then we'll get to you, I promise.
No, I'm good. I'm sorry. Like, I'm listening.
I remember in college, I went to college with the idea that I wanted to be a teacher. And sorry, this story might sound offensive to you.
No, but I can't picture you as a teacher.
I know.
Holy shit, that would have been a disaster.
Oh, it would have been a disaster. But I remember this guy that I was really into at the time. I was over at his apartment with his friend, and we're in college. We barely know each other, and I think they asked what I was studying, and I was like, oh yeah, like I want to go into elementary education. And this guy was like, oh, so you're here to get your MRS degree.
Oh, I've heard that too.
Yeah, and I was like, I literally didn't even know what that was. I was like, MRS degree? Like, what are you? And they're like, yeah, you're Mrs. Degree. You're just here to find basically a husband to provide for you. Literally, immediately. That's when I
know you called me. I'm pretty sure on your way home.
I was like, okay, so I'm going to become a dentist. Yeah. I was like, that's interesting, and I can make a lot of money doing that. Like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure you called me literally right after. I was like, yeah, you used to always play dentist on my teeth. Like, let's do it.
And I am not a dentist, but I did still pursue a career where I knew I had to be compensated well financially. And it was because I was like, oh, shit, I need to put myself in a position where I will literally never rely on anybody, because I felt like I never could growing up, so I'm going to create that stability for myself.
Thank you to that guy.
I literally, thank you. But
also,
I thought that was interesting.
Very offensive.
Yeah, no,
super offensive.
Very offensive. Yeah. I've heard that from an Uber driver one time.
Yeah, I know. I was a little afraid to say it, because obviously, okay, you're a teacher.
I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher assistant, so I get paid even less than a teacher.
Well, you were a teacher, but you're a teacher assistant now because you're in grad school.
Yes.
But
for like a master's that is like known for its low pay.
It's fine. But anyway, so like we mentioned earlier, me and Kay are the same personality type. So with that description, was there anything in particular that you related to or felt like it stood out to you? I know you mentioned you didn't feel like you really connected with it.
Yeah, I didn't really feel very connected to it, but while you were speaking, I did think about our past with instability with someone for like emotional support. I think I had a very different experience than you. I didn't look to Gloria for that very often, just because I think there was such a big age group. And so like when mom got remarried, I did at one point ask our stepfather, feels weird saying that, but like I was like, what do I call you? Like, do I call you dad? Do I call you stepdad? So that was like, I think my younger self kind of reaching for that stability. I never did.
Yeah.
I think I just ended up calling him by his name. But I did have, I think, a stronger relationship with him than you guys did. Like, he was there for me to, like, teach me how to ride a bike and how to swim. I was homeschooled for a year, and he helped teach me at homeschool. He didn't do it well, but he was trying. English wasn't his first language. Like, that's to be fair.
Let's just focus on the fact that you were literally homeschooled because you couldn't read.
Yes.
And you were being taught by someone whose English was his first language. So that was probably really challenging for you.
Yeah, I was in 3rd grade, couldn't read still, had to be homeschooled. And he was one of the people helping me. But it was mainly our mom. And so I think because I thought I had him there, and then like mom did this extraordinary thing with like homeschooling me for that whole year while working and taking care of all of us. Like, I did almost view that, I think, as, like, that emotional support. And it was, but there is more to emotional support than just that as well that I don't think I realized as a kid. So I didn't recognize it when I was younger, that I was missing that. I didn't really think about it. I also think a lot of the times with our stepsister that I was a happy kid. You know, we were always just playing around, playing pretend, using our imagination. I think around the same time as all of that was going down, I was reenacting Princess and the Frog with her, making beignets.
You guys were always having the best time.
Yeah, so I don't think...
You didn't feel that instability
I
as
didn't
much?
feel that instability as much because I was a happy kid.
Yeah.
Like, our life was never consistent. I do think that period of time where they were married was probably the happiest of my childhood, even though they were not meant to be together.
Yeah.
That marriage needed to end.
Yeah.
But I didn't see the problems in their marriage because, one, I was a kid, and two, I was sisters with my best friend, you know, and that was what I was focusing on. And I feel like maybe the majority of realizing that I needed help with my emotions and learning those skills to process them and express them was maybe in high school, where dad just didn't talk to me. And mom was struggling.
Trying to survive.
She was just trying to survive in a way that I've never seen before. You know, taking care of dad was a lot of work, moving to an entire new state, handling an angsty teen, and then her sister, you know, got really sick and passed away. It was a lot for one person.
Yeah.
And
I think because the two of us were already out of the house,
Yes.
it kind of set you up for like isolation as your coping mechanism versus like emotions. Like, we were so emotionally charged because during the height of our teen angst, we were literally shoved in a room together.
yes,
Yeah.
and
To
I
duke
was
it out.
for the first time completely alone.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. And like, I did use different forms of escapism to like get away from it. Like, I became obsessed with a TV show called Supernatural, and I watched it repeatedly. It had 10 seasons, and I probably watched it like 4 times.
Yeah.
It was like my favorite thing. I'd make my popcorn, go in my room, and watch it.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because I almost feel like we both talked about the same thing, but how we reacted differently. Yes. I talked about how mom was in survival mode, and I felt like I didn't get that emotional support from her. I didn't get that from dad, but that was happening to me at an age when I was in like kindergarten through 4th grade. Whereas you almost experienced the exact same thing. Mom was still in survival mode for a completely different reason, trying to take care of our dad when he was sick, take care of her sister when she was sick, and dad was around for you, but not as an emotional stability
if
point.
anything, I was taking care of him, like taking him to doctor's
But I
appointments.
just do think it's so interesting that we both experienced the same thing, but at different ages, so interpreted it so differently. It's just like kind of shows that like a elementary school kid brain will interpret a situation in one way versus if obviously your brain wasn't fully matured at that point, but you were able to interpret it in a different way and see outside of that tunnel of like, I just need someone to help me survive. You had more empathy, I think, for mom in that situation than I could when I was that age.
And I will say, while I know you said when you were younger, you didn't really turn to me as your emotional support, but when you were going through that same mom in survival mode moment, I did just happen to re-enter your life.
That's
and
true.
I do actually think I kind of
you helped me a lot with school.
filled the consistency void for you.
Yeah.
I helped you with school. I helped you overcome kind of like, you had a whole thing with your hair with mom because mom was so disconnected. She couldn't stick with the routine that you guys had. And I remember really being there with you through that.
Yeah, I will say, I think when I was speaking back, it was like specifically those
when you were
3
little.
years when
Yeah.
it was just me in that house.
Yeah.
Because you did really stepped up and you really helped me with school a lot and just bringing more joy into the house.
Yeah.
Did you at all relate to the description for the type 6 about like constantly thinking about worst case scenario, trying to be prepared for every situation because you're always worried something could go bad?
That's where I think when I was reading it, I was like, oh, I don't match up with this. I
actually felt related to that a lot more.
Yeah.
I feel like you might not relate to that almost a little bit from being the youngest sibling.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I do think of worst case scenarios, but I'm not like the type of person to come up with a plan. It's more like avoidance.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You know that the worst case scenario is there, but
Can
you're like,
happen, so you
if
avoid.
that happens, I'm gonna go full possum on that shit.
Whereas I'm like, well, if it's going to happen, I need to figure out plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L,
That's
M,
a
N, O, P.
plan.
Yeah, you have a plan.
Avoidance is a plan.
I don't know. I feel avoidance is a lack of a plan.
No, I feel like avoidance
I don't
is an option. It's a choice.
Depends on the way you look at it.
To do that, so I'm not doing it.
Yeah, but that is technically a plan.
Yeah.
I guess.
You're
That's
making a decision.
poor plan.
Hey, nobody said that it would be a quality.
There are good plans and bad plans, so.
I guess I didn't think of it in that way. I was just like, no, I just don't do it. If I don't feel comfortable, I just don't do it.
A good plan, honestly, in my opinion, to avoid.
Hey, possums thrive by playing dead.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Is that my new spirit animal?
Okay, so with the personality test, the next thing is kind of like strengths and weaknesses. So, G, do you want to go back to yours with the individualist? Like, what strengths and weaknesses stood out to you?
Yes. Okay. So my positives that stood out were self-awareness and deep empathy, which I think they actually kind of go hand in hand. I'm very in tune with what's going on with myself to where I then can go and be very in tune with what's happening with the people around me.
When it comes to empathy, do you feel like you can feel other people's emotions?
It's literally crippling. Mm-hmm. It's hard in my marriage because my husband will just be trying to exist, and I'm just like, what's going on? I can feel it. What is happening here?
Have you heard people talk about the difference between empathy and like codependency at all?
Yes, and I do think we are definitely in a codependent relationship. We've been together since we were 19 and 20 years old. But I don't just feel it with my husband. I feel it with strangers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to differentiate it because because I'm also very empathetic. And then when I started learning a little bit more about codependency, I was like, oh, maybe I'm not empathetic. I'm just codependent. But I can also drive down the street and see a homeless person and literally like want to throw up and cry at the same time.
One time I drove over, actually not just one time, but one time that stuck with me. I drove over a squirrel, right? It was already on the road, presumably dead. And I swear I felt it as I rode over, and my first thought was, okay, he's safe now, he's left. Because I felt it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I can't even just exist around like
I think
roadkill.
empathetic people do tend to be a little bit more codependent, but
Yes, I think because we fall victim to it because we are so aware of other people's emotions and we clock them. But I mean, you know, when I go out for a social event, for instance, you know, everybody's worried about how they are going to be perceived. And I feel that too, but then I'm also hyper aware of other people perceiving themselves. And then I have to check myself because I'm like, okay, no, they're going to know that I'm perceiving them. And then how do they perceive me?
Oh God,
That
that's a
sounds
lot of mental
exhausting.
gymnastics.
It's exhausting, but does it make sense?
Say it one more
It
time.
does, but
So
terrible.
everybody's worried about themselves, right? Like, I want to look good. I want to look cool. I want to look awesome. But then I will be like observant of everybody's like literal moves. Like, I am clocking everything. Mm-hmm. But then I'm like, hey, rein it in. Because they're going to perceive you perceiving them.
Yeah.
Because they're so focused on themselves.
You're afraid that they're going to think you're judging them.
Yes, because I don't actually, like, I don't have any bias attached to it. I just am so aware. Mm-hmm. Like, so aware. It's
And you're
borderline
aware of
painful.
your awareness, and
Yes.
then you get self-conscious about the awareness.
like a
Yes, thank you.
never-ending
Okay, you
loop.
see.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting to just have, like, pretty minor interactions even.
Yeah.
Because nothing is ever just like, hey, how you doing? Not ever. Never. It's always, like,
And
so
once again,
layered.
it's a beautiful strength, and then also can be
A
a
huge
detriment
weakness,
as well.
which,
yeah.
okay, that leads me into some of the negatives, right?
Okay.
The weaknesses. So I put loss of touch with reality versus creativity and imagination, okay?
Well, your story that
Yeah,
you
the
opened up.
opener.
Yes, exactly. I will spin out on the most minor thing. And as I was kind of saying then, you know, those crazy things have happened to me. Like, crazy things have happened in my lifetime to where it's not that much of a reach, but I have to sometimes check myself. But I will daydream more than I night dream.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I am off in La La Land like 90% of the time.
Yeah. But I think that's part of that creativity component, because I think daydreaming, you're thinking about all of the things you can create, and it's great because you do create. I don't know what percentage of the daydreams you have you actually create, but I feel like you do produce so much that, you know, that's the beauty behind it. You do create so much relatable content, I feel like.
Well, if you even think about the origin of this podcast, you were trying to think of ways to support Sonia through a breakup, and you were just like listing things, and then the podcast really like
Just
hit
kind
her.
of breathe from it.
yeah, and then we've grown it so much.
Yeah.
Do you ever struggle with the fact that you like fantasize so much and then sometimes your reality
feels
doesn't
dull?
match it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Sometimes I really struggle with that. I know and part of it is my partner is also, I wouldn't say a dreamer as much as he dreams about, no, he is a dreamer too. We both are. It's like, because I remember when we first got married, it was a lot of promises, but it was coming from a place of his dreams. Mm-hmm. And he like overpromised, I think.
He was
knows.
dreaming big.
He was
Yeah,
dreaming big.
and he was 20 years old.
Exactly. Literal children. Let's keep that in mind, okay? Yeah. And so he overpromised, and then but that just like ignites my dream, like my dreamer tendency. So I'm like, oh, it's gonna be all
Yes,
these
fuel each other.
Yes. And then, you know, when reality wasn't that, it was really hard, I think, for both of us.
Yeah.
But I will say, you know, they have that saying, you know, aim for the stars, land on a cloud.
Stars, feel for the aim for the moon, land on a
Land
star.
on a cloud?
I think it's shoot for the moon
Stars,
and land on a
land on the
star.
moon. Oh, what?
Shoot for the moon and you land on a star.
I've always heard shoot for the stars, land on
the moon.
on a cloud.
Oh.
So none of us have heard this the same.
Yeah.
Whatever, the...
Say it in the comments. The correct
Shoot
Tell us
for
what
a
you think
very
it is.
shoot for a high
thing. And then land on a slightly lower but still high
That's kind
thing.
of depressing.
Yeah, that's not a good saying.
But like still really high though.
Yeah.
But like
You're,
not what you
disappointed.
wanted.
Yeah.
Get goal adjacent.
Okay, well, I was saying it in a positive light. I just feel like while we have been dreamers, okay, here's the thing. It's like we're dreamers, both my partner and I. But I don't think we're also like that's a dream, right? But while aiming for that dream, I think our reality has surpassed what we ever imagined it would be.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. That made sense to me.
Like, actually.
It didn't make sense to me, but...
Like, what we actually ever thought we would really achieve, we have surpassed that already.
You're able to you're able to, like, realize your dreams are truly just dreams. I think there are some people who...
Obviously.
Aren't able to do that, and then they're just constantly disappointed with your life. But you have big dreams, but you're also grateful...
For how far we've come.
Yeah. I mean, that's really good.
There was one time we were, like, eating dinner. Mind you, this was still in our one-bedroom apartment. I loved that apartment. I was super proud of that apartment. But regardless, we're a couple living in a one-bedroom apartment with 3 animals. I cooked a meal, and we sat down, and we started hysterically laughing about the people we were 6-7 years at the time prior to that, because we never thought we would sit and have, like, an actual meal together like that. That was not feasible to us at one point. Mm-hmm. Did we dream way crazier stuff? Sure thing. But that was not feasible to us. And now, looking back at the people in that one-bedroom apartment, are you kidding me?
Yeah. I think it's good that you have that other side of the coin where you're able to be grateful. I think if people don't have that, then
it makes life really dull and sad. So sometimes my heart aches for, like, my dreams / reality, dualities. But for the most part, I'm super grateful. I never saw myself getting here. I think that, and I don't think we're anywhere close to stopping. That's the thing.
Oh my gosh,
it's like
no.
we are still our dreams
down
are
to 30. So you have a lot.
Like we've got rounding down to 30. Yes, rounding down.
You're at 30.
I'm 30 years old. Let's not be weird about it. Okay. Anyways, moving on.
Any other of the big strengths and weaknesses that you related to?
Those were the main ones that I took note of.
What about you, Kay? Did you relate to any of the big strengths and weaknesses that were in
Let me get my
loyalist
notes out?
Yeah.
Okay. I hardly ever look at the notes. I usually just kind of go off
I need them.
The dome.
And I'm happy to go if you want me to go first. Or
Yeah.
Okay. So strengths and weaknesses of the loyalist. One thing that they talked about was self-discipline. So basically committing to something and following through with it, or being pretty rigid. And I definitely relate to that. If I commit to something, I'm going to give it my all and follow through, even to, like, my detriment. If I'm in any sort of physical or mental pain, if I committed to something, I'm going to do it. Like, a sillier one, not really silly because my back is freaking hurting.
Yeah, it's not silly at all. I feel like it's really altered your life a lot, and I take a lot of blame of that, and it makes me feel very
literally not your fault at all, but a big one for me is I used to do CrossFit, and I was, like, so into it, and then at one point I ended up hurting my back, and I would still do the things that I thought I was supposed to do. I still wanted to participate in CrossFit and CrossFit competitions, so I still did it even though I was in literal physical pain because of my quote-unquote discipline. And now I'm here where my back is killing me at 28 years old. But all that to be said is I really do relate. Obviously, like we said earlier, every strength can be a weakness. Every weakness can be a strength. In this case, I would say I'm supposed to be talking about my strengths, but I think that was more of a weakness on my end.
You were so physically strong.
I know.
But at what cost?
Yeah.
And then it turns out to be
what's the saying? It's like insanity is doing the same thing but expecting a different result.
Outcome.
And I think to a certain point, my discipline shifts over to that more negative variation of discipline where I will keep doing something because I've committed to it, even though I'm not really getting the result that I want.
Yeah.
Which has served me in so many different areas, like PA school, where I wanted to drop out and quit so often, but I knew I committed to something and there was no way I was ever going to.
Did you really consider dropping out and quitting?
Oh, there were plenty of times where I was like, what am I doing? I can't do this. I don't want to do this.
Oh, I just always thought you were just, like, such a badass.
Oh, no, yeah. I was just like, well, I've already... 1, invested this much money into it. 2, I don't know what else I want to do with my life. And 3, like, I have to do it. I've already committed. And I started to face that same conflict when I started working in the real world after becoming a PA. Like, I have a lot of insecurity about the fact that I've been a PA for about a little over
3 years?
3 years
Yeah, 3.
now. and I'm on my third job because I wasn't happy at my 2 previous jobs, and I had a really hard time deciding to leave those, but I also have I'm really proud of myself for doing that. I think I talked to you guys a lot about it. I talked to my boyfriend a lot about it, and my therapist. I always saw it as a weakness, especially at my first job. I had been there for a little bit less than a year, and I was just miserable. And I was like, maybe I just need to stick it out, because I also do, this contradicts what I'm saying, but I do feel like I give up sometimes when I don't feel like I'm good at something.
I feel
that
like
contradicts what I'm saying about
discipline.
discipline.
It's hard because I feel like with school, you've always been more dig your heels in. Even with working out, you've been more dig your heels in. But with work, I don't know if you equate it the same, because I feel like with working out, there's pretty instant gratification, right? Like you get stronger or you look more the way you want, whatever. With school, you get grades, you're told right away, like, yes. With work, there's not so much like good job or telling, like, feedback.
Yeah.
And I would also say, like, you had being very, like, physically active and being good at academics as part of your personality. I feel like you very much identified yourself with those things. Yeah. So you're like, no, I have to do these things because they are me. But I don't think you felt that way about your other 2 jobs.
That's a good point.
I did have a really hard time deciding that I was going to quit my first job. But in talking to my therapist, she allowed me to see it as like a strength. So many people will stick to something that's making them miserable. I'm saying I've done so much.
I'm so proud of you. And I'm honestly, because you worked so hard. You just said you contemplated dropping out so many times. It was so hard for you to work towards something that was subpar. No way.
Yeah.
You worked that hard to get something that you deserve and that you worked for.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. I am that person that would just stay at work. I'm the opposite. I'm like, work, yes. School, no. Workouts, no. But work is my identity, and I will stay way too long.
Yeah.
You know,
I gotta skedaddle.
That's what I did at my previous job for 4 years, and I was miserable.
Yeah.
You know, I kept telling myself, like, especially with teaching, they say, like, it takes, like, a couple of years for you to, like, get the groove and, like, the routine and feel confident in it. And so I was like, it's just a learning curve. Like, it's just, like, I just need more time. I need more experience. I need to, like, just take the feedback that I'm getting and just do better. And maybe there was a little bit of that, but also I just wasn't happy with where I was. And it was you guys literally telling me, like, screaming at me, quit your job. Like, stop doing that. Like,
I was so loud.
Yeah.
And it was annoying. I couldn't help it.
Everyone was just like, why? Why are you doing this? And it took a very long time because I'm a very stubborn person.
Oh, are you? I didn't realize.
I've been told repeatedly on this podcast. Okay.
Well, then my insecurities really set in with my second job, where I was like, I'm not happy here, but happy to say with this third job, it feels really good.
You told me the other day that you were excited to go to work.
I know.
And it makes me so happy.
I wish everyone could feel that way.
I know.
I feel like the world would be a better place.
Okay. Another one of the strengths that I related to was respect and care for others. It did say, so type 6 loyalists may seem cold at first, but it's because, those are my words. Hold on. Let me go back to what it said on the actual thing. So another one of the type 6 strengths was deep respect and care for others. Though they may not seem so empathetic at first, 6s intuitively anticipate the needs of others and are very protective of those that they care about. And I relate to that a lot. I have been told that I come off that I have RBF and don't come off as very friendly to people who are just meeting me. But once I care for someone, I am like, you are my freaking ride or die. I will literally do anything for you. I will literally do a murder. So, like, and part of I think the reason that I am cold at first is because I put so much of myself and my energy into my relationships, and it can be emotionally exhausting and draining at times that
you don't want to waste your time.
I'm like, I need you to first prove to me that you're worth my time. So, and I think that was very, very apparent in my relationship with my now current boyfriend. It took a very, very long time for me to admit that we were dating I think, over a year, even though we were literally
You met his
dating.
family.
And you knew each other for years before that,
yes,
too?
we've gone on a vacation together to see his family, all of these things, but in my brain, I was like, I kept telling, not in my brain, out loud, I was saying,
very loud.
we are not dating.
She would bring me on their dates as a buffer.
Yeah.
Like multiple dates.
And it's because I had just come off of a very traumatic breakup that I think that guard of, I need to know that I can trust you before you become one of the people that I will freaking ride for. Like, I needed to know that I could trust him first. That I came off as very cold. Like, to this day, that still comes up in our relationship where he's like,
A little
I don't know if
insecure.
you like me.
Yeah.
And that's on me and the way that I navigated that. But I think I was in a place where I was feeling, and that's actually one of the weaknesses for the type 6 is self-doubt and insecurity. And I think after that breakup that I went through and feeling like I really knew that person and being so blindsided by that breakup, I then started to really doubt myself and my ability to judge someone's intentions and character. That then I had a really hard time with that going into my next relationship, to the point where, like, I think I looked to you guys a lot for validation, being like, okay, well, I first want to see if you guys, and specifically I remember feeling a lot of pressure for him to meet my best friend and getting her approval. I almost started feeling like I needed to get other people's approval for this person because I had so much self-doubt and insecurity that I could truly trust that person. So it just showed up a lot in that relationship. But I think with time, I'm building that confidence in myself, but I do think that I look to others for that validation quite frequently before making a decision, because I have a lot of that self-doubt. But yeah. What about you with the loyalist? Any of the strengths and weaknesses that you resonated with, Kay?
Yeah, the same ones.
Yeah.
We'll start with the weaknesses so I can end on a good note.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's smart.
But yes, I also did the self-doubt and the insecurities. I always was very insecure about my level of intellect. You know, I struggled at a very young age. Like I previously said in this episode, that I didn't learn how to read until, I said 3rd grade, but it was actually 4th grade. And that really just formed my opinions about myself, because you see people around you, like your peers, your friends, be able to do something seamlessly, like so easily. And like, it's just not clocking with me, and it's just like not clicking, and I didn't understand why, and I felt very different. And I think I've always carried that with me, even after I closed those learning gaps and did better in school. I still struggled, and it felt like things came more easily to other people than to me, and it felt like I always had to try just a little bit harder to still be just like a little bit below them, you know?
And I think that's kind of like what we talked about earlier, how it took a long time to push you out of that comfort of your comfort, even though you were super unhappy of your teaching career, because it meant that you'd have to go back to school.
Yes.
And I think that self-doubt was really holding you back.
Yeah, I was very resistant to going back to school. It gave me a lot of anxiety. It stressed me out. I didn't think I was capable of doing that. And even prior to starting my career, just looking for what I wanted to do in the future, I was just
paralyzed. I feel like you were like literally frozen.
I did. Yeah, exactly how I felt. If I came across a career, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I want to do that. But it was like, oh, you need to take a licensing exam. I was like, no, thank you. Mm-hmm. I can't take tests. I have very bad anxiety, or at least that's what I tell myself. And so whenever I saw that you had to take like a big exam for
even though
a
you had to
certain
take
career,
a bunch of big exams to become a teacher in the first place.
Yeah, but if we circle back to what was said previously, I think a lot of people view education as like an easy degree, the MRS degree.
Yes, but those are still big exams, and you still got through it.
Yeah, but I think that, in your brain, you're like, oh, these are easy tests that anyone could pass, but it wasn't
Yeah.
true. But
Yeah.
in your brain, that was the way you were thinking about it.
Yeah, and the way the tests are broken down, it's like reading, social studies, science. I was like, I've done that my whole life. Like, other exams are like very specific to that career. This is just the way my brain works to make it.
I feel like because of the way you perceive yourself and your doubt about your intellect is that because of that you make the things that you've done and the accomplishments that you've made smaller.
Yeah, you, like,
because you
minimize
feel
them.
like, oh, I could do it and I'm not that smart. And you're minimizing the accomplishments that you've had when they are really big things that a lot of people couldn't do. So just want to say that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I second that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's made me feel a lot of self-doubt and just has drived a lot of my decisions in life. It took basically my family yelling at me, go back to school, to go back to school. Because again,
We're very loud.
That's what we're here
stubborn. And then I also chose the deep respect and care for others. When I was deciding what I want to do with my life, with my quarter life crisis, everyone
have it.
will go through it.
That would be a
not
great
fun.
episode.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
You have to let Kay get through hers first. Or actually, it could be a good perspective to hear someone going through.
In it.
I think I'm on the tail end, but like with going, okay.
Kidding.
Never mind.
That's what she thinks. No, I'm
Hot
just kidding.
takes. I'm just beginning it. Okay. But when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life and having a mental breakdown about it, I remember crying, and it was either you or your boyfriend were like, just like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. I just want to help people. And it's true. Like, I just do want to help people make the world just like a little bit, or even my community, just like a little bit of a better place, because life is hard, times are tough, and it's always that way. That's not new. But it's funny, I was thinking when I was writing this down, I also was very insecure or doubted if when I was a teacher I was making the type of change that I wanted to. You know, I think with education, being a teacher, it's small incremental change that you see over the course of the year that you're with the kids. And not every student is going to change or learn something at the same rate, obviously. But it's sometimes hard to see the effect that you're having on kids. And I know for me, like, I would hyper fixate on the students that I felt like maybe I wasn't doing justice, because I was one of those kids that struggled, and it formed my view of myself so deeply. And that's one of the reasons why I went into education, because I didn't want kids to feel that way. And then I was like, I'm here, and I still feel like some of my students do feel that way.
Yeah.
And then it became this battle in my head. It's like, is it me as a teacher, or is it more so the system? You're very excited
I
over
have
that.
something I want to say.
The system in which I'm in, you know, like,
Yeah.
I'm just one person at one very underfunded school. I'm not going to create big waves of change instantly. You know, that's something that happens on a broader, more macro level.
Yeah.
So when you were speaking, it sparked something that I read under our personality type earlier. How does Enneagram Type 6 act under stress? Which during that time that you're talking about, you're obviously under high amounts of stress. It says, when pushed over their stress limits, 6s become obsessed with their past mistakes and failures.
I did.
They get stuck in their heads constantly.
I was going to get
finish?
to that.
Constantly replaying scenarios about what they should have done better. And I just thought that was interesting because you were talking about how you fixated so much on the students you felt like you couldn't help.
Girl, I was going to get to that. Well, she just said what I was going to say next.
Sorry.
To circle back. So the S just
Sorry.
said it. It's okay.
No, you say it in your words. You can do it.
That.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump
No.
in and do that, but
It's
I
okay.
It was interesting because I think that just goes to show, like, that was not the right place for you because you were under stress, so you were acting in a way that was like, or you were responding your brain was responding in a way that was not healthy, or like, I don't know, I'm trying to say something that's not coming across right, but I just think being aware that you're responding in that way is good to know that you maybe were not in the right place.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think a large part of it is just because one of the reasons why I went into education was because of my academic struggle when I was younger. And then for me not to feel like I was accomplishing what I set out to do was very challenging.
Yeah.
And just being a teacher itself is very stressful. And then being a teacher in a Title I school is very stressful. So I felt like I was just putting a lot of extra pressure on myself outside of the pressure that teachers already get from our society today. And
Yeah.
then thinking about what I wanted to do next with my quarter life crisis, I feared whatever I chose, I would still feel like I wasn't doing or
Making the difference.
affecting the
that you wanted to
community
make.
or like the group of people I was working for at the level or caliber that I hope to.
Yeah.
And it's interesting now with my master's program for social work, you can see the different avenues you can go down. Education, you don't have many avenues. You know, it's just like you teach. You can teach different grade levels and different subjects, but at the base of it, you're still teaching.
Yeah.
But what I have enjoyed about social work is that like you can go on a more macro level and advocate for more systematic changes, you know, and policy changes and initiatives like that, and more in like the political sphere of it. Or you can go down on a micro level and help just like your specific community or individual groups of people. So it's interesting that I have these options, and also like I'm like, oh snap, there's a lot of options.
I think it's good to have options.
Yes, I prefer having
I'm so
more
excited
options
to see
than
what
less.
changes you're going to make. I've already seen, I think, you being in school, and I think having success in school, in grad school, I feel like your confidence builds, and I'm just excited to see what you're going to do next.
It's interesting. I was talking, I think, to your boyfriend about it. I hate tests still. It gives me a lot of anxiety still. And he does a lot of tests, and I do a lot of papers for school. And I talk about it, I'm like, I would hate to do
He loves tests.
Yes, and I don't understand. Good for him, but I don't understand that.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. So there is a part of me, I'm like, oh, when I do have to like take my licensing exam at the end.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
I know, but my
Cross that bridge when
brain.
we get
Well,
to
since
it.
we're talking about fears, I think the next big thing was fears and desires.
Yes.
And that's a huge part of the Enneagram test because, like we said earlier, fears are really the biggest motivator, I think, for our actions. So what ones did you find that you related to, G?
Yeah, so the ones that really stuck out for me is just with me being kind of 1 foot in reality, 1 foot in La La Land, and having seen so many of our family members kind of lose themselves in the end, or at some point in their lives. Some of them are still here today, but they've kind of lost themselves. I'm really scared that I will just completely crack in my differentiation between reality and my fantasy world will just blur and I won't even know that it's happening.
But I think, like we said earlier, with you and your husband, that you guys have been able to do that so far, and
Yeah,
still be
I just mean
grateful
like
for where you're at.
health-wise. Like if I ever get so sick or if I ever just like, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I will watch a couple conspiracy theories and I'm like, if I watch one more, I'm in danger. I need to turn this off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
So
Like I'm worried. I
You
might
were
just
right
take
on
it-
the edge
Yes.
of.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, thank goodness my self-awareness saved me that time, but what about the time that it doesn't? You know what
Okay,
I'm
so
saying?
you're afraid your self-awareness may fade with time.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, what if I just watch one thing too many and I lose it?
In your brain, it's just
Kaput.
yeah.
But,
I hear you with that, yeah.
yeah.
Don't worry, we're here for you to bring you back to reality.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And then also just fear of never finding my calling. I know that, I mentioned I thought pole was my calling, whatever. I was young. And then being a mom feels like it, but that's temporary. I mean, even if it is for a while, like eventually
Our mom is still our mom, though, to all of us.
I know,
but to a different capacity of what it is to raise and help a toddler survive.
Even a few years from now when he's in school, that's going to be a different type of parenting. And then once they're teenagers, adults, it's a different thing. And I don't want to be just like nothing left at the end of that.
Well, talking about the fact that fears motivate our actions, I think you have that fear, and that's why you're going to school and making sure you have something outside of just raising not just raising your son, but outside of raising your son to still find your identity in.
100%. But then I have the fear of, okay, I've put all this work in and I'm putting all this work into this degree. What if I finally get to that career and I'm like, you were wrong?
Kind of what Kay was just saying.
Yeah, it's a scary feeling because then you're like, well, do I have to start all over again? And then you question your own personality and your own, like, being.
Yeah. So
I had that a lot with not liking my first 2 jobs. Me being like, oh, I totally picked the wrong thing, and great, I'm about to go back to square one to figure out what I actually want to do. So it is
so scary. I think there have been a lot of signs that I am in the right place, but I mean, I'll mention it now. It's on the list that mechanical engineering is a no-go for my personality.
You're not mechanical engineering, though. You're biomedical engineering.
But when I think of what biomedical engineering is, a very like broad umbrella, and you can do lots of different things under that umbrella,
which I think is perfect for you.
But the one I relate to most and always say that I want to get into is the mechanical engineering of bioengineering. So like, I want to be the mechanical engineer of medical devices.
Yes, but I think it's good that you picked something. You didn't pick mechanical engineering where you would be pigeonholed. You are doing something more like biomedical engineering where you can shift, I think, a little bit more with what you want to be doing. And there are more
avenues, more options.
Yeah.
More option for creativity. I think sometimes when we think of like engineering, we don't think of how creative you can be in that field. And I think you thrive under using your creativity.
Oh, see, I feel the opposite. I feel like engineers are like the artists of the people, like the roads you walk on,
No, I agree.
The bridges.
Isn't that what you just said?
Yes.
She doesn't think creative. You think more like structural, more like...
Yeah, I'm saying, but I think more than people realize you can be creative in engineering.
For sure.
I don't think that's a very common thought that people have.
That they associate with engineering.
Yeah, I think we both have that assumption or that view because of the way Gloria talks about engineering and her reasoning for doing it.
Yeah.
But I think also just being able to look back at this time in your life, you're only 30, and you've shifted careers so much, and it's all about the journey, not the end goal.
Yeah.
Like, you can shift at any point again, and you are so creative. I think you will always find a way to have an outlet. So.
Yeah.
But
this is true.
It's the fear that is motivating.
Yes,
you do.
definitely.
So,
definitely.
How
about you? What are your fears?
Well, the big one that I related to is being left alone, and I think that one kind of goes without saying, just like abandonment issues. I have really big fear of that, but something that I actually feel like I didn't agree with is a fear that I cannot face the problems that I've built up in my head alone. And that's like why I fear abandonment. But I don't necessarily agree with this. Going back to like the overview of the personality type, it did say that type 6s learn in their upbringing that they can't rely on anyone but themselves. And I think kind of like what I spoke to earlier is I've tried to create a life and a career where I have the resources to face things on my own. So I don't think I do create a lot of scenarios and a lot of worst case scenarios and possible problems that I may face, but I do feel like I have the confidence within myself to face those because I've worked hard to be in a place that I can. So I didn't necessarily agree with that. But then it had me thinking, and it's actually a question that my therapist has asked me multiple times that I've never been able to answer, is then like, if that is the case, then why do I have the fear of abandonment so much? And that was a big thing, I think, with my past relationship. Is a great thing that came from that is I was crushed and heartbroken and felt like I couldn't go on. And then I proved to myself that I could not only move on, but also thrive. So I know I'm capable of doing that. I know I have that in myself. I know that I can face any problem that I think that I create up in my head, then why am I so afraid of being abandoned?
Yeah.
And I can't find the answer for that.
Yeah,
I'd love input.
I think like you have the ability to get through it, but having to get through it again might be the scary part.
Yeah, I don't want to.
You don't
You
want
like
to
have
do
now
that.
witnessed what it takes to get through it.
And I'm like,
You're
I have
I
no
don't
desire
wanna
to
do
do
that again.
Yeah, I think that's probably it. And I think just a fear that like the people around me won't think that I'm worth it or enough or something like that. And that abandonment strikes a chord definitely. I think more so than a fear of abandonment and not being able to do the things that I need to do. I think it's more of the fear of abandonment.
I think the physical sense is less. I think it's more so the emotional abandonment.
Almost just like feeling like I'm not worth it, worth the effort. And that's just like on an emotional level, just obviously something that no one wants to feel.
Yeah.
But just it was interesting. And I mean, going back to fears being the motivator, like that fear that I wouldn't be able to tackle problems on my own is probably part of the reason that I've worked so hard to get to a place that I feel like I can.
Like you work so hard to be able to physically fend for yourself, cover for yourself, all that stuff to kind of come to the realization, but I still don't like it.
I don't want to do it.
I don't want to, which is what you're saying. So like emotionally, you're like, I still need somebody I can depend on because I can cover myself.
I know I can do it, but I'm tired.
Oh, no.
It's hard work.
Yeah. What about you, Kay? Any of the fears or desires that stood out to you?
Okay, I think maybe this is when I was like, I don't know if I identify with this personality type. I'm gonna read the bullet points of the fears, where it's saying like being left alone without support and protection. I
love being alone.
Yeah,
I love it so much to the point where you guys are like, no, you need to like go out.
Yeah. Okay.
And then experiencing betrayal. I have never really thought about it. Like, I don't fear that. You know, maybe I'm just very confident in my relationships. Like, I know...
Have you ever experienced a true betrayal?
The closest thing I think I can think of is when I found out Dad was cheating on Mom again, and I was the one to, like, find that out and have to hold that to myself. But that wasn't very personal to me. But yeah,
I'm just curious if maybe it's, kind of you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And almost part of me is thinking you feel super confident in your relationships and you feel so strong in them. And part of the reason why maybe you don't go out and explore new relationships is because that fear of betrayal is in the back of your mind. But I don't think that's really true. I say that out loud and it doesn't feel right.
I don't connect with that, but we could dive deeper into that.
Yeah, I said it out loud. I was like, I don't think that sounds right.
And then being subjected to unfair, cruel authority. I don't personally feel like I fear that, or to like a point where like.
I think what we're witnessing here though is that a lot of life has been pre-vetted, okay? Because a lot of that stuff we have experienced.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think I think that we've kind of shielded you from a lot of it. Sometimes of our own accord, and sometimes just by mere coincidence or whatever, just the timing. But, like, even, what you were saying about the fear of betrayal, we kind of, you don't necessarily put yourself out into the world to go meet other friends because you kind of have built in with us. We've been pre-vetted.
So you've never had to face or experience that fear of being
for
betrayed.
Yourself.
To some extent, because you haven't been in that situation.
That's true.
Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes any sense.
I know, I get what you're saying. I think that's true, but I still don't
feel it.
With these fears that this personality type is saying.
You still relate to it,
I don't really relate to it.
But I'm just curious if put in those situations, if it
would arise.
I think that we should retake this personality test in a year and see if you all
most definitely, because like I said earlier, I have taken this test before and I got the defender, and now I'm the loyalist. Yeah. And then the desire, I think in a previous episode we talked about building relationships and how I do want to do that, but I feel like I physically literally just don't know how to. And one of the desires is like building trustful and meaningful relationships. Yeah. Because I do have you guys and I love you guys and it's important. Like you guys are very important to me in this relationship. I think these relationships will always be like my my top ones forever, but I do fear of like putting all my eggs in one basket.
Fear.
Yeah.
I mean, fear.
Fear. And I think it
Fair.
is just healthy to have a
Yes,
group.
absolutely.
But I just struggle with it.
Yeah, I think that you really don't like
hard.
any, like you've said, small talk or any of the kind of intermediary stages of friendship. You want kind of just instant, deep
Connection.
Yeah.
You don't
And
want to go
that's-
through that small talk, that
You have to kinda
uncomfortable
get
Awkward
first
silence.
interaction
I
experience.
hate awkward silences.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to fill them, but then I don't know how to fill them, and so they're still just silent with me wanting to fill them.
But you still crave those
Yeah,
relationships,
but-
but you don't want to build them.
Yeah, but I also struggle, like I've said this on the podcast before, like I think I struggle to express my emotions. And I think sometimes I struggle to also process them. So like building those strong relationships is hard because like how are you supposed to build those deep, meaningful relationships if I don't feel like I know how to be like vulnerable and express those emotions.
Yeah, because you got to be willing to give just as much as
Yes,
you get.
exactly. But
Which I hope this podcast maybe helps you with, because I think that's a big thing that we're doing here is having vulnerable conversations, and it's a muscle that you have to work.
That's true.
And
It's true.
Hopefully it helps.
yeah, it's just so, this is such a structured environment. Like,
And you're with two people that you feel very comfortable with.
exactly.
But
And there's copious amounts of, but they're not here. I forget.
the listeners,
I love
hopefully
you.
you're out there.
But I forget that you're there.
And yeah,
it's
there's
also-
some alcohol involved.
And there's structure.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
there's
true.
so much
There's
structure.
rules. We know what we're coming to the table to talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
For our listeners, we like literally have a template that we
Don't
fill
give
out.
away our
No,
secrets.
no, don't give all
Don't give
that.
away our secrets.
There's a template that we fill out. And it's nice because like I can plan and reflect and think.
Going back
before.
to the big thing with personality 6 is being prepared, being afraid. So you come up with plan A, B, and C. I feel like you feel comfortable with this
Yeah.
because you can go into it prepared.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about it because the phrasing was like being prepared
Yeah.
for the worst case scenario.
But worst case scenario to you could be sitting in front of a
Silence.
camera and not know what to say.
So you're preparing for it.
Yeah, if you notice listening back to the episodes during our brain dump where it's less structured and I don't know what's going to be said,
You're a little more quiet.
I'm a lot more quiet.
There's also less wine back at the beginning of the episode.
True.
That's true, but also I think it really is just
Yeah, less structure.
structure.
Yeah, our talking points definitely help drive the conversation.
Yeah.
yeah. Now all the listeners are gonna be clocking that.
We're not that regimented, but
Yeah, seriously, we go off the rail, trust me.
Oh yeah, a lot of
But-
what we said was not in the notes.
I feel like we've talked about ourselves for a really long time.
Yes, I
Is
think
there
it's
anything else you
time
guys want to
to-
get off your chest?
I think I'm good. I think I covered a lot of the bases.
Yeah, I feel like
that
we really
needed.
got into it today. Should we move on to Reddit stories? You want to cue us in, Kay?
Yes, I do. All right, guys, it is time for our favorite segment here at Daddy Issues. It is strangers being messier than us on the internet. That's right, it's time for our Reddit stories. So take it away.
Okay, so I have the Reddit story for today. The title is, Am I the Asshole for Giving My Twin Sons Different Allowances? Which I thought would be interesting because we've had our own relationship with like allowances and things
yeah.
like that growing up. I, 43 male, have 4 kids. The 2 oldest are twin boys, 14 male, and then we have 2 girls, 10 female and 7 female. All of them are pretty responsible kids and consistently do their chores as they're meant to. We have a little chart that says what all of the jobs are, with each of their roles being proportional to their ages. The boys take on the largest number of responsibilities, which each of them alternate each week. Officially, their allowances have been as follows for a while. Boys, both $15 a week. 10-year-old, $10 a week. 7-year-old, $2, mostly for symbolic purposes, LOL. Obviously, as the girls age, they'll start making more money just as they'll start doing more work around the house. They better make the same amount as the boys.
Yeah.
Because we know what it's like to be a woman who doesn't make as much money
Preach.
from doing the same job. Okay. But here's the thing. One of my boys, call him A to differentiate, is a real leader in the home. He's just naturally brilliant with people, is constantly dealing with conflicts between his sisters and his brother, takes charge in rough situations, and is really considerate of others. He's always been the front man between his brothers and him speaking for both of them while his brother hangs back. Though we've never told him to, and though it's not his responsibility, he's always been a real help to his mother and me in keeping the house running smoothly. His brother, call him B, on the other hand, is a much more reserved kid. He keeps to himself. That's not a problem. But we do recognize A takes on more quote-unquote emotional labor in the household than B. So my wife and I have been giving A an extra $5 a week for the past year. He's been making $20 while B's making $15. We think that's fair since A has taken on more responsibilities in the house, even if they weren't responsibilities we told him to take on. The boys have their own debit cards. We got them for them at age 13, so we put the money directly into their accounts, and neither of them see the money that's exchanged. A does not know he makes more money. A does know he makes more money, though. Last week, however, B found out his brother was making more money than him. They were online shopping for video games, and B questioned why A was able to afford stuff that he couldn't. A hasn't really spent his extra money, so it's accumulated a fair bit. A admitted to him that he's been making more. B is absolutely furious with us. He says that's totally unfair and they've been doing the same amount of chores, but A's been making more money. But we don't really know how to explain to him that A deserves recognition for the less easily quantifiable work he does in our family. So, are they the asshole for giving their twin sons different allowances?
Oh, God.
I have thoughts, but I'd like you guys
thoughts.
to react.
Yes.
To give...
So tough. Okay. My instinct is like, yes.
Yes, I agree.
My instinct is to say yes, asshole. I don't necessarily disagree with them paying them differently. It's the way they went about it. I don't know, because I'm trying to think about, like, if you were to... Oh, it's so tough, because I'm like, okay, parents aren't meant to be, like, direct reflections of the real world, but also they are getting older, and I don't know, it's so hard. And I get wanting to recognize the older one, but also $5 whole for emotional? Maybe $1.
I think... Do you have opinions before I give mine?
Yes. Okay, I think it's wild that they did it in secret.
Yes, the secret
That's
part.
weird because now the older twin...
Not
has to-
older,
no,
just
they're
the
just
one that
twin.
does
The better,
more, I
the
guess.
better
The
twin.
better
apparently.
twin.
The better twin.
The better twin is now having to navigate telling his brother that when they're shopping. That's an uncomfortable position to
Yeah.
put both of your sons in. And the lesser twin, B,
Yeah.
that's all I could say I could call him, probably now is going to like view himself differently because they're putting money worth to them as people.
Yeah.
And his other son is $5 more.
Yeah,
Five. It's crazy.
It's just saying... Oh, sorry, are you done?
Not, yeah,
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. And they had this plan of it being in relation to their age, right?
And to chores.
And to chores. Like the youngest gets 2, the 10-year-old gets 10, and then the 15 get 15. Like that. It's supposed to be somewhat connected to their age. So like if you had a structure that you started off with, you have to be consistent with that. Otherwise, it's going to cause rifts between your children.
You know how
Yeah.
I think I would have approached it is I would have said, once I noticed one twin was, kind of doing more as far as leadership, things like that, I would have turned to the twins and I would have said, hello, you guys are the oldest. Here are some incentives, money incentives for you
Yes.
to earn more.
Bonuses.
If you do X, Y, Z, the things that they are saying they value in twin A, you will get bonuses. Now it's up to both of them to try and do those bonuses, earn those bonuses, versus it just being like defaulted to
Yeah,
something.
and I think, one, it's unfair because, they set out these expectations for these kids to meet. And some people need expectations to be laid out for them a little bit more. And
Especially
so
children.
they should have at least
Yeah.
laid out those expectations
Yes.
for twin B. But also, it's like, I feel like giving twin A more of an allowance is rewarding his strengths.
Yeah.
That's great, but everyone has different strengths. And although twin B might not step up to the plate in conflict, or he's a little bit more quiet, a little bit more reserved, and maybe he's really good in school, or he's a very good academic.
Why isn't he getting paid $5
It's
for
like
something else?
the qualities that the parents, and probably more like more largely society see as good qualities are being compensated, and these other qualities that twin B may have that are absolutely fantastic but maybe not recognized are not being acknowledged. And I think that's completely
because
unfair
there's
to
this
twin B.
spoken value, right? The chores, and then there's this unspoken value.
How is twin B ever supposed to know? And like I'm sure
If
he
given
has
the
his own
opportunity, would
strengths.
want to, or would even want the chance to even strengthen those strengths.
That's like say, I mean, obviously K and G are not twins, but G, you're way more outspoken and way more to like step in conflict and things like that. And K, you're way more quiet, but you are more likely to like provide emotional support in like
And
more
also,
one-on-one intimate settings. And it's like not more likely, but more comfortable doing
but in
that.
situations where she needs to step up and be in conflict, she will do it when it comes to work. That's the thing too.
Yeah.
'Cause if she knows she's going to get paid for it, she will do it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
You put a money value to it, and your
So I'm
girl
just
will
saying,
step up.
Tell twin B you could get paid for this, and they might.
I think yeah, that's great. Tell twin B and they can like do these things that are deemed as good by their parents. But I also just think there's a lot of damage in like not recognizing that maybe twin B
just
has other strengths that they're not
100%, I get what
compensating.
you're
So
saying.
I definitely think they're
And
the
also
asshole.
the other children. And also because the other children are following that same structure of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think they are the asshole for definitely
just
rewarding-
secretly rewarding.
and then also the asshole for making like the kids be the ones to have that conversation and navigate instead of them the
Yes,
parents
They
being
didn't want to
transparent.
because they knew it was weird.
So.
Just silently picking a favorite is wild work.
We all know parents do it, but like the fact that they literally had proof that kid was the favorite by we can look at
value.
the bank account,
bro.
Yeah, like clearly that kid's the
Wild. That's
favorite.
gonna stick with that
Forever.
son for a very long time.
Both of them, honestly, even twin A is gonna feel.
He's gonna feel that he has to always be that person.
Yeah, because they're like, well, that's what
because
my
they're rewarding
value
it, and
is.
that's what your value is. So, I think the parents are the assholes.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, for sure. All right,
Well, I think
great
that's
job,
it.
guys.
So we're going to close out the episode with that. Once again, as a reminder, we are not professionals, so take what we say lightly. We're just three sisters with a decent camera, big feelings, and daddy issues.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed listening to our podcast today, please be sure to follow us on our social media at the Daddy Issues Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and the Daddy Issues Podcast on YouTube. And please share it with your emotionally repressed friend or dad.
And if you guys decide to take this Enneagram test, let us know what your results are.
Yes, we'd love to hear
in
it.
the comments. All right, we love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.